as unfortunately, small and medium-sized businesses are the most affected by cyber attacks, and the numbers keep growing year over year. Quick reminder, please don't forget to submit your questions via the Q&A box, as we will be having our Q&A session at the end of our speaker's presentation. We also want to welcome all Facebook viewers who are watching this webinar live on our USHCC Facebook page. Remember, you can also leave questions on the comments field, as we will be monitoring our Facebook page as well. So today we have great speakers covering this topic, but first I would like to introduce our CEO and President, Ramiro Cavazos. Welcome, Ramiro.
Thank you so much, Laura, and thank you for the great job you do for us on our team out of our Washington, D.C. office. You are a joy to work with, and I just want to say on behalf of our organization, welcome to everyone. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. Thank you for joining us today. The United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the nation's largest Hispanic business organization. Our focus is to support small businesses through our 260 chambers of commerce around the country. We have great companies, corporate leaders like AT&T that you're going to hear from today that bring to you these free webinars to help your small business, especially during Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is such an important topic. And then we also have a great board of directors. You'll get to meet one of our board members, Rachel Coots, shortly, that I have the honor of introducing, but our chairwoman, Alice Rodriguez, represents a national board that is composed of chamber leaders, small business leaders, and corporate leaders, all of them working in symphony together to make sure that we work hard to provide direct services to our small businesses, to make sure we create wealth and prosperity in our community. Our three focus areas, as many of you know, is to really grow capital opportunities for small businesses, also to grow access to contracting and procurement, because that's where Fortune 100 firms and the US government work on, especially on cyber issues. And then, of course, the last piece that is so important is capacity building. We want our businesses to be in place when it's time for them to get ready to be successful. So with that, before I introduce our great leader, Rachel Coots with AT&T, I wanted to say that I had the honor of, before joining the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce 3 years ago, to work in Texas for the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And prior to that, I was the head of economic development for the city, the 7th largest city in America. This is a city that at one time was obviously the headquarters of AT&T, but it's also a city that has 4 military bases. So I learned in working on economic development, small business issues, the importance of preparing our small businesses to protect themselves, to protect their passion. And I saw after 9/11, after 2001, the amount of investment that happened outside of Washington, D.C. Even though today we are headquartered in Washington, D.C., we need to support our communities throughout the whole 50 states and our territories. And I think you'll learn today that there's nothing more important than protecting your small business. And so for us, we saw the decentralization of investment and contracts and staffing over the last 20 years, not just in corporate America, but also the US government. In fact, over the last 20 years since 9/11, there were thousands of jobs and billions of dollars invested to decentralize and not keep everything in Washington, D.C. in the event of any type of cyber attack or terrorist attack. So we saw the National Security Agency expand its reach into other markets, and we saw great companies like AT&T and others that also deployed to make sure that we had assets throughout the community where they were needed. So for us, this is not just a webinar with a sponsor, but it is an important, valuable piece of how to protect your business and how to grow your business. And for some of you, how to take cybersecurity and technology and perhaps be someone that can provide those vendor services, especially many of our small business owners who are veteran-owned businesses or folks that have worked in the U.S. government protecting our assets, of course, through their service. So with that, I'm honored to serve as the President and CEO for our board of directors and to work with a great team of leaders. Before I introduce Rachel, I want to thank, of course, the great team at AT&T, Kent, Yvette, Celeste, and the whole leadership group, and their commitment to growing the economy and their commitment to growing our 62 million Latino-owned, not our Latino-owned businesses, there are more than 5 million Latino-owned businesses, but our consumer strength with the 62 million Latinos that we know are growing the economy, creating jobs, and making goods and service decisions and procurement decisions. So with that, thank you again for joining us. We look forward to future webinars with AT&T. AT&T is one of our corporate partners, is a big investor in our small business services. And at this time, I'm just so over the moon introducing Rachel Coots. She joined our board in the last year and has really provided us a tremendous amount of information when it comes to supplier diversity issues, and also just clarity on being strategic for our small Latino-owned businesses, men and women-owned businesses. So I'm just very honored to have her give opening remarks, although I kind of have done that on behalf of the chamber, but she will be doing this on behalf of our chamber and, of course, AT&T. Rachel is the Vice President over Consumer Supply Chain and Global Logistics. And I just want to thank her so much for her service on our board and the powerful leadership that she provides to our community through her work in procurement. So with that, Rachel, thank you so much. It's an honor to see you, even if it is virtual. I look forward to seeing you soon in person. And thank you for your passion for our small businesses and the work that you do every day. Everyone, I give you Rachel Coots.
Thank you, Ramiro. Wow, that was a really warm welcome, both for me and for AT&T. Thank you so much. It is truly my honor to serve on the board of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, to serve with you, Ramiro, and the rest of my board members, but also to be here on behalf of AT&T. This is a core value for AT&T, is helping improve the business community as well as the economy of small businesses. And so this is a great way for us to do that. I'm really excited. Kent George is here today, as you've heard, and he is an expert on this. I just found out he's sitting in my hometown of, I don't know if he's in Denver, but he's in Colorado. We'll just say Colorado. And so I just couldn't be more pleased to be here. Welcome everyone to the AT&T Protect Your Passion Cybersecurity webinar. That's a mouthful. We appreciate you joining us because, as Ramiro said, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And it's probably a great month for that, given that October is a transitional month. Most places, maybe not Dallas, most places are having beautiful fall weather with the transition of the leaves. And I think cybersecurity really kind of falls into that category as I think about it. Cybersecurity is one of those things that I think for every business owner, you go through every day not really thinking about it. And then you go to bed at night and you go, oh my gosh, but what if? And I think it's typical human nature to think, it's not going to happen to me, or it hasn't happened to me, or I'm too little for it to happen to. And I think you're going to see today that that's just not the case. I don't think you can open up your news feed on any given day and not read about some kind of cybersecurity issue. And again, I'm here to say, and I'm not just because Halloween is only a few days away, here to give you nightmares, but you have to be thinking about this, especially as a small business. We're honored to collaborate with the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to communicate this, to act as a guide for you here. Again, we've got Kent George, who's going to give you some really great information. But let me just throw some more facts at you. Again, it's almost Halloween. I probably will give you nightmares, but here are some of the facts. The average time to identify a breach in 2020 was 207 days. That means the bad guys are in your network, they're in your business for over 3/4 of a year and you don't even know it. So that's pretty frightening. The average life cycle of a breach was 280 days from identification to containment. So what that tells me is takes you the longest time to find out that they've done something bad, and then takes you about another 2 to 3 months to actually contain whatever it is they've done. 94% of malware is delivered by email. So I know our employees hate all the training we get about email and the constant reminders, don't click on that link, don't do this, don't do that. But that's a really scary thought when you think about the best part of containment is actually through your email and through your employees' best practices. 48% of malicious email attachments are on Office files. So the bad guys do a really good job of making sure that somebody's going to open this. And again, I think most employees, and I just took all of my security cyber training this weekend. I think most employees think they're going to know when they see something malicious. They're going to get it. I don't think they realize how sophisticated the hackers are and how what they're really trying to do is make sure they look as respectable as possible. We at AT&T spend a lot of time thinking about this. We are not just offering connected services, we are offering secure connected services. Internally, as I said, as an employee, I take lots of training. I get lots of really good reminders about what to do and what not to do. We really think that we can offer you some good suggestions here to help protect your business, which is really your passion. So sit back. Now that I've given you all nightmares, try to sit back, try to relax, but really do enjoy this Protect Your Passion Cybersecurity webinar. Okay, so I am now going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague here at AT&T, Yvette Mouton. She is our Senior Supplier Diversity Sourcing Manager, and she's going to also prepare you for Kent's presentation. She's going to give some welcoming remarks, but also talk a little bit more about our AT&T Supplier Diversity Program. Yvette?
Muchas gracias, Rachel. Bienvenido todos. My name is Yvette Mouton. As Rachel mentioned, I'm an AT&T Senior Supplier Diversity Sourcing Manager, and I also have the pleasure of serving as the AT&T representative for the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Procurement Council Advisory Board. Well, I'm here to tell all of you today that not only is AT&T truly committed to cybersecurity, we are also extremely passionate about supplier diversity. In fact, we have curated a robust supplier diversity program that spans over 50 years that validates our commitment. AT&T Supplier Diversity Program has been at the forefront of supporting diverse business organizations and provides resources for the ecosystem that has contributed to diverse business development and success since 1968. We support an inclusive supply chain at AT&T because we know it makes us a stronger company. In fact, most of the business awarded in AT&T supply diversity space have resulted from competitive bidding. Therefore, diverse suppliers have earned our business and have lowered our cost, increased our quality, and helped our innovative efforts. Last year marked the 52nd year of AT&T's commitment to engage diverse businesses. And in that time, AT&T has spent $200 billion, that's right, $1 billion with business enterprises owned by minorities, women, service-disabled veteran businesses, LGBTQ+, veterans, and people with disabilities who add value to our company through their innovation and fresh ideas. In fact, our 2020 supplier diversity spend was $13.2 billion, which represented 24.5%. That's 24.5% of AT&T's procurement spend. Also, we have a phenomenal prime supplier program, and I will tell you that it shifted when Rachel joined our leadership. I cannot tell you how extraordinary, how phenomenal, and what a visionary Rachel is. She looked at our program and she looked at this our prime supplier program, and she said, you know what, this is nice, but we're going to take it up a notch. And that's when we transformed into the preferred supplier program that has 4 criteria. First, it accesses a supplier diversities and inclusion of their workforce. We assess that rather. The second prong is that the amount of educational opportunities for diverse employees is also looked at. And in addition to that, the third criteria is dollars spent on subcontracting opportunities with diverse suppliers. And the fourth prong is their sustainability efforts. And it's important to note that these suppliers who favorably meet all of those aforementioned criteria that I just mentioned have preferential access to AT&T opportunities. And again, kudos go to Rachel for her vision and her ability to take us to a new level. Also, AT&T has a phenomenal program called the Business Growth Acceleration Program. It's known as BGAP. And that program is an initiative to help diverse-owned businesses with their growth plan and capacity building. You heard Rachel mention it, you heard Ramiro mention it, and it's so important. So this BGAP program helps to build that. It's an educational program that mentors a select group of certified diverse business leaders toward improving their business operations and enhancing their abilities to win corporate contracts. And throughout this 12-week program through the BGAP, the businesses are paired with mentors and experienced business leaders. The training focuses on overall business growth and business scalability to meet the demands of larger corporations like AT&T. And then, as part of the graduation, the cherry on the Sunday is that these diverse businesses have an opportunity to conduct a business pitch to an audience of AT&T business leaders, supplier diversity managers, program instructors, and business mentors. And last year, AT&T sponsored 10 diverse businesses. So if you want more information about the BGAP program, you can visit our website at www.attsupplydiversity.com. Again, that's www.attsupplydiversity.com. And I want to note there's no ampersand between the two T's. So it's www.attsupplydiversity.com. But please note that the deadline for the BGAP program is this Friday, October 29th. So at this juncture, I'm going to turn it over to my phenomenal colleague, Kent George, who is an AT&T data network consultant and network security specialist. And he's going to speak with you about how and why you should protect your passion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvette and Rachel. And I just want to say thank you to the Chamber and to everybody who's joining us today. Bienvenidos to all of you. This is a very important message, and I want everyone to take this as seriously as I possibly can. It is truly an epidemic that we are dealing with today. We need to take this with the highest level of seriousness possible because of what is happening and because of what you want to do to protect your business, your passion. I think of small businesses. I personally grew up in a small business family, and I owned a couple of my own small businesses prior to joining AT&T at another lifetime, many years ago now. And I know that it really, truly is. It's almost like a garden where we're cultivating and bringing everything together so that we can begin that process of harvesting. And so that's why I put this quote here, which is, I want everybody to think in terms of protecting that garden and protecting that passion. And that is why we need to be a warrior in a garden rather than a gardener in this war, because this is truly war when it comes to cybersecurity. We hear, as Rachel and Yvette may have mentioned, about the various breaches that are occurring. We see them on the news fairly frequently now, which is honestly scary because these are larger organizations with large budgets who should have the ability to protect their networks. But what we're seeing over and over is that the cybersecurity threat landscape and the threat vectors that are within the landscape continue to change. And so the bad actors that are out there are always trying to find ways to breach what is there for the various reasons, which we'll discuss as we go along in the presentation here. So I want you to think in terms of protecting your passion. I want you to think in terms of October, as we mentioned before, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're going to talk about a few different services that are available via AT&T, but we're also going to talk about what these services are and what cybersecurity really means. It's important because the thing you're not seeing in the news is how many small businesses are getting hit and how many small businesses go under because of getting hit by cybersecurity attacks. And as it stands, small and medium businesses have become the preferred target of most of the cybersecurity breaching bad actors that are out there on the internet. We hear about this term called the dark web. I can't speak enough about staying away from that. There are various things that could be found, and there's cybersecurity breach software and various things that are immediately available to these bad actors. Cybercrime as a service is something that actually exists now. We see this both within the United States and offshore in other countries where they have actually propped up businesses to do nothing but come in and take from businesses and breach what security may be existing or what security is not existing. Oftentimes I speak to customers and to small and medium-sized business owners. They say, well, I'll do something about it when it happens. But what I can't stress enough is that it's too late when it happens. If you haven't done something up front, then you're potentially at risk, and you don't want to have that happen to your business. Your business is your life. Your business is your passion. And as my family and myself, and we had run businesses, it was the passion that really drove us in what we were doing. And we don't want to see the bad actors come in and take that from you and take that from us to use for their own will. It's not the way this works. It's not the way we're supposed to be doing things. So we're going to talk a little bit about DDoS protection services today. We're going to talk about managed firewall services. We're going to talk about something called Enterprise Traffic Protector, which helps for that outbound traffic. A lot of people think that, well, I'll just protect it so anything coming in. But the reality is oftentimes when we go out and we go to the internet, which is a request and response-based service, we get a response and we come back with something in that response from a website that we didn't realize had either been spoofed, or email that comes in that includes something that creates a malware problem and potentially very large problems financially for your small business. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk to today. When we think in terms of cybersecurity in general, it's really the protection. If you're connected to the internet, we need to make sure that you are protecting your business. Not all businesses are connected to the internet, but I'd say most at this point likely are. We're seeing that the smaller businesses, 1 to 250 employees, really has become some of the highest targeted of malicious email. Somebody had mentioned that earlier. I think it was Rachel or Yvette, as far as some of what that is. When you'll click on a link that says, hey, check out this article on CNN.com, and you think you're going to the news channel CNN, but in fact, that web address has been spoofed. We see that kind of thing a lot. It comes in via email. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to educate our employees as well. Those smaller businesses sometimes are made up of just a few employees, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't think in terms of educating them to take a closer look at what they're doing when they're online. We want to see more and more small businesses grow because that is the backbone of our economy. And we want to see where those small businesses grow and come into. It's that innovation. And it's also that innovation that those bad actors are after. They want your special sauce. They want to take from you that passion that you create that brings those customers to you. So cybercrime in general is up roughly 600% right now due to COVID and the pandemic that we've been experiencing. A lot of that has to do with a shift in work. People are working from home, and this has created opportunities for those bad actors to create problems when you're logging into your business, when you're working remotely from home versus being in the office. Well, if we don't have those sorts of doorways locked down, these are extra ways that they can find in. This has created other pathways on that threat landscape that we want to do our best to try to lock down so that they don't come after what you have, that passion, that good that you're bringing to the table. Data breaches are extremely expensive. As you can see, when the average cost is right around somewhere between $3 and $4 million. Not many small business or even medium business size owners can support that kind of cost associated with that. One of the things a lot of people don't even realize is that it's not just what the bad actors do, what they may steal from you, it's what they do with that information. And we're also now seeing the Department of Commerce and other legislation that's coming down that is really stating that we as a business owner have to take some form of we need to put in the safety guards, the safety rails to protect our customers and our customers' data. So that's really important because we see that data gets usurped from illegally taken from us and put out there on the web and it's used for identity theft, and a whole lot of other things that we'd rather not see happen, not to mention that trust that gets broken with the customers. And so we hear about these type of things with Home Depot and Target. Recently, there was a pipeline and then the meat packing industry, but we don't see a lot of what's happening to the small businesses. As I said, they've become the bigger target because they can hit multiple businesses at one time, and they're trying to take advantage of this period of time where our small businesses are getting up to speed and educating themselves on how best to protect their businesses and their customers. So that's extremely important. We saw damage related to cybercrime hitting somewhere in the billions in the last couple of years, and we're going to see it's going to go as high as what we're estimating right now, as high as in the trillions within the next few years. So this is very serious. We need to take this with complete seriousness, and we need to look at what the options are to assure that you can support your business, support your customers safely, and at what I believe is a responsible budget, because we also have to consider that as well. Sometimes I speak to the smaller businesses and they say, well, I can't afford it. What you can't afford is when you get hit with a cost of a malware attack that costs you somewhere around $2.5 million. That's what you really can't afford. So we don't hear about those kind of things hitting the small businesses, but it does, and it's real, and we need to take it very seriously. So with that said, we see in the marketplace in general a massive shortage in cybersecurity skills. We see that this is actually it's an opportunity for people who have interest in networking and this side of networking, because as I believe we were talking a little bit earlier about having maybe that hacktivist come in and help us when we're getting hacked, somebody who can fight back for us, which AT&T can help you with that. But we need to bring in those people and educate more people on what those skills need to be. And so trying to find people and hire people for your business just to support security within your business is becoming more and more difficult because there's such a demand. I believe we see something to the tune of about 400% underemployment in cybersecurity and the needs for cybersecurity for companies right now. So the other thing is, when we talk about security and networking, what we're seeing is a huge shift in networking where instead of having servers and computers on site, we're putting more and more of that towards the cloud, which is really just mainframe computing that's been moved over to a data center or central office. Well, we need to make sure that that's secure as well. And that's also something AT&T can help you with. We need to look at that shift from protection and prevention to the detection and response. We want to find out if something is happening before it even happens, and we can help you do that and help you to stop it in its tracks before it gets in and takes that passion and that goodness that you've worked so hard to provide to the community and the people around you that love doing business with you. We need to think in terms of application and data security in general. How are we securing those customers' data that we're bringing on site? And as a small business grows into a larger business, ultimately having that connectivity and that ability to maintain that customer data is very important to providing that level of customer service, which you are all so passionate about. So it's very important that we take a look at this. Digital ecosystems and the next generations of security, this changes daily. I was talking about this a little bit earlier in our pre-meeting, how I am constantly studying to stay on top of this. And as small business owners, I don't expect you guys to do that because, for one thing, your focus, your core competency is on the products and the services you provide. But you also have to be that warrior inside that garden that you're cultivating, and use that passion from that well of goodness you have to try to make sure that you've got these types of security protocols in place to make sure that your customers, who you also care about, aren't getting hurt, and that your business can continue to open and provide that good thing that you're all about. In the face of these challenges, small business owners more than ever have got to have this thing we call grit. Grit is that passion, that perseverance. You've already got that if you're a successful small business owner or medium-sized business owner. But we have to continue to push with that and know that we have to expand on what that passion, that perseverance is, and what that grit is as another piece of our business to maintain it. We lock the doors at night. We want to make sure that those pathways that come into our business that are logically driven over the connectivity that brings us to our website, to our internet, that allows those online orders to come in, we want those things to be secure as well. And so we need to persevere and know that these things are happening, that you don't want to be one of those statistics. And AT&T can help you with that. And we've got the services and the support that you're looking for so that you don't necessarily have to be an expert in these areas as well. That's our job. That's where we can help you. In general, I kind of went over this, but this is why we think in terms of AT&T managed security. I want you to do business with us. I want you to talk to us about all kinds of different security that you're interested in, the security protocols, the various things that we can help you with, but ultimately just get the security in place. Work with the security providers. AT&T wants to be a part of that. If we're not, that's okay. We can help you with other products and services. We can make recommendations. We have consultative services that may give you that direction that you need. We analyze over 30 billion attacks a day. Now, that sounds like a lot, but that's because of the scope and scale of our network, which is just massive. We have a network that basically spans the globe. And so we know that we have attacks that are coming in from offshore, attacks that are happening inside of the United States. We want to keep an eye on this, but we have seen these breaches and these attacks continue to grow year over year. In fact, it's month over month, really, at this point. Our cybersecurity department within AT&T is constantly growing. They're constantly re-educating and having to stay on top of what is happening with the latest and greatest of cybersecurity. So if you want to know more about that, we will be happy to sit down and discuss that with you, help you get in touch with one of our security specialists, one of our channel managers who can walk you through what some of the things are that you need to look for. But again, we're going to start talking about some of what the different services are that we can offer, that we can help you with. One of the ones that's happening right now that we see just a fair amount of, which is DDoS. Now, DDoS is a form of malware, and malware means malicious software. Now, what this is it used to be called a denial of service attack. And what we're seeing now is what's called a distributed denial of service attack. And we're seeing that these kinds of attacks are largely on the rise right now, especially since COVID hit. We've had a number of these attacks. And of course, some of them have even been in the news with larger businesses. But we're seeing it also occurring with small businesses because they can do this to multiple small businesses at a time. And what they do in effect is they create a situation in which the network, when it's working appropriately, you've got traffic coming and going from your business. But what a DDoS attack does is it infects a number of different pieces of equipment, everything from PCs, baby monitors, security systems, DVRs, anything that is software driven with this malicious software that when the bad actor decides, they will either have it on a timer or they'll set it in motion in such a way that all of these devices, which some of them can be within the United States, some of them can be from outside of the United States, will try to send a message to the router, which is really that gateway that sits on the edge of our network and your network, or I should say the public internet and your network. And what it does is it floods it with so many requests that it effectively shuts down. You can have a firewall in place. You can have other security protocols in place. Unfortunately, this is a pre-firewall attack. And so what then happens is that the bad actors will contact the small business, medium, or even large business. They'll offer to stop the attack, but usually it's in the form of a ransom. They want money, Bitcoin, something that you have, information, so that they can stop this and then you can get back online. We see massive losses in business because of this, because effectively the business, as far as its online business capabilities, are shut down. So if you're online in any way, shape, or form, this can occur, even if you have a firewall in place. We'll talk about firewalls as we go along a little further. But when I first started in networking many years ago now, firewall seemed to be a great big deal. Unfortunately, a firewall is only one layer. We need to think in terms of layers and in terms of closing the gaps that those bad actors use to try to get access to the information that we hold dear. Our secret recipe to Coca-Cola, all of the good things that we bring in, our customers' information. We don't want to share that information because that's what makes up our business, and we don't want to see our customers get hurt. And that's important. Not to mention that if you didn't know this, folks, but customers who get hurt now are actually taking legal action against businesses where their information was leaked from. So it's another side of this whole thing. So it's very important to put in place these different protocols to assure that we can stop this kind of thing from happening so that you're not hit from multiple angles here, which then puts you in a financial strain and potentially shuts your business down. That is not what we want. So you heard me talk a little bit about our premise-based firewall services. And as many of you probably know, you can go to Micro Center, Best Buy, various stores. You can find a firewall. However, firewalls, like everything else, tend to get out of range as far as the latest and greatest and whatever the threats are that they're facing. With an AT&T premise-based firewall, which is managed by AT&T, we can protect your perimeter, we can take care of your network and give you 24-hour support to one of our security operations centers, which there's roughly 9 of them around the country. We usually will know that your firewall is under attack before you ever do. Our teams will proactively reach out and make sure that you're aware that we have it under control. And our firewalls we maintain are of the next generation of firewalls always. So we always stay up to date with the latest and greatest software, which, by the way, is another step you as business owners can do. Don't allow your servers, your iPads, your iPhones, your desktop or laptop computers to get behind on the software. Oftentimes, older software contains breach type scenarios within it or gaps that these bad actors will use to attack your network. So as I said, the threat vectors, the threat landscape, it's just constantly growing. The level of innovation associated with this is incredible. So with a premise-based firewall, we make sure that it has the latest and greatest and that we can stop those types of attacks from occurring. It used to be when I was a little bit younger and working in the business, we used to talk about what was called deep packet inspection. And if you understand what a packet is, it's basically what makes up the messaging that translates, that transfers back and forth from your business to the internet. And we used to look at those packets and determine whether or not they were malicious. But the reality now is that that's not even deep enough. Now, our latest next generation firewalls, we look at what's called domain name service level, which is even deeper. We've got to determine where the traffic is coming from. Did you go to a website or are you attempting to go to a website that may have been spoofed and contains the kind of malware that's going to cause you and your customer problems? So AT&T wants to help with that. And that's why a firewall creates that bridge that basically we won't allow things to cross, and we will make sure that you guys are getting online safely and not bringing things back that potentially you don't want. Not to mention that firewall will also help for proactive outside actors trying to attack your business. Now, again, as I mentioned, the DDoS service, DDoS is something that is a pre-firewall attack. Most firewalls sit on the other side of a router. So that's why we need to think in terms of layers. DDoS attacks the router. It will never get to that firewall. So the firewall can't really help in that instance. And that's why we're going to talk about these services today, because they're relatively inexpensive for what they support and how they can help you. And it's not that deep, in-depth sort of thing that you need for maybe, let's say, a very large company might need to support, because those attack vectors are coming from so many different angles. We know that these are the type of attacks that are occurring for small and medium-sized businesses, and that's why we want to direct you this way. The next one I want to talk to you about is called Enterprise Traffic Protector. This protects the outbound traffic and filters at that DNS level. So when you go to that CNN.com, we want to know that it is CNN, not CNM, because that's what happens oftentimes is the email, these types of, let's call them invitations to malware, will be hidden within the email. You don't look twice at it. You click on the link and suddenly you're going somewhere you don't want to be, your customer's information doesn't want to be, and they're bringing something back to you that is really going to create problems. Enterprise Traffic Protector protects those outbound requests. So when you go out, you click or you type in a website, what happens is that request will go through a gateway. It looks at that website to verify whether or not it's a spoofed website, and it will actually black hole or stop that traffic in its tracks. And you get a little message back saying that this is an unsafe website. And it will basically stop you from going there and stop your employees from inadvertently downloading that malware that could create all those problems, those backdoor entries for those bad actors that are going to cause problems in your business and for your customers. So that's what's Enterprise Traffic Protector. And again, relatively inexpensive for what it provides you, and it can help you in another layer of what we need to have in place from a security standpoint. Think of those layers almost like locks on a door. We want to make sure that we have those things in place that will keep those bad actors from coming in, from ransacking our business, from shoplifting from us and taking what we've earned, and for the good passion that we're putting out there and doing it all without setting foot inside the business. We don't want that to happen. And AT&T respects your business, and we don't want to see those type of things happen to you or your customers, or what can happen after the fact, which is oftentimes a lot of small businesses after the first attack, they just can't respond and they end up going out of business. And that is absolutely not what we want to see. From a national economic standpoint, it's bad for everyone. AT&T believes in business. We believe in small business, and we believe in diversity supporting the small businesses. And that's why you guys are so important. And that's why we need to talk about this and have this level of education so that you understand the threats that you're facing out there. The last one I'm going to talk about today is what's called vulnerability scanning service. This is another service that AT&T offers where we come in with a consultative approach. We take a look at your business. We take a look at your network connectivity. We determine whether or not you have the right types of security services in place. We'll do a discovery on the devices and how easily we can discover those devices. We'll provide a report on what those vulnerabilities and the severity of those vulnerabilities are to your business. And then we can provide you with a consultative guidance on how to correct and identify those security vulnerabilities going forward so that your business is safe. And this is something that we provide, I guess it's about every 3 to 6 months. We'll come in and we'll take a closer look at what you're working with and help you out. So if you're interested in having a look to see, is my business secure? Maybe you're already making some of those steps to make sure that it is. But we want to take a look and see what those vulnerabilities are that you maybe haven't thought of. Are you thinking in terms of those different layers? Because what it creates is more difficulties for those bad actors to come in. And this way, we can come in, see what those layers are in place and what those gaps are, and give you some suggestions on how to close those so it never happens to you. So with that, folks, I mean, that's really what I was going to talk about today. Our DDoS protection service, our managed firewalls, enterprise traffic protector, vulnerability scanning service. Let me just say right now, these are just a few of the different security services that you have available to you from within AT&T. We want to consult. We want to help you. I want to leave you with this quote, which was from a Roman general. If you want peace, then prepare for war. So when I say prepare for war, I mean lock things down so that people cannot come in and wage war on your business from continents away or across oceans or just down the street. We want you to be in business. We want you to keep moving forward and doing the good things you're doing. And as you're bringing yourself up to more of an online footprint and being in the internet and being aware for everyone to see, you are creating a target for yourself. The best thing we can do is try to minimize what that target is and make it so these bad actors will go elsewhere until eventually we can stop this thing from happening to anyone, anytime, which I don't know if we'll get there, but it's also a dream and a wish, and we're going to continue working towards that. And that's where we are, folks. I am here to help. I think we're ready for some questions and answers. That was a whole lot to go over. I could tell you guys that I've got product information on any one of these products. I have other products that are higher level. Anything that you would like to know about, I'm here to answer that question today. I'll do the best I can to answer those questions because there's always more to know. And that's why we're here to help you, because we don't think you should have to know it all either.
Absolutely, Kent. I think, wow, what a great, it's a lot of information and a lot of technicalities, right? So one question that we receive is, in essence, is that affordable for me? I'm a small business. What is the cost of hiring an individual and employing a cybersecurity solution prohibitive? Are there affordable solutions or other grant programs in order to cover the cost? You know, why don't we just start by sharing or telling people where could they go if they want to have more information about the wonderful products that AT&T is providing to all small businesses and medium-sized businesses right now to protect their business. And if you
Sure.
could please stop sharing your screen so we can all be seen in a larger scale and everybody can
There we
see
go.
us, because we're very good
Sorry
looking.
about that.
So fantastic.
Well, I believe we're going to send out some links for the AT&T product set, and then also for some general cybersecurity information that exists that the federal government is providing. I mean, I could tell you that AT&T is behind this. The U.S. government is behind this. We recognize the damage that can be done here. When it comes to cost, I can tell you that that's one of the things you have to think of. When I talk to small businesses and I talk to them about their budgets in general, when they're looking at what their budget is for the year, I try to impress upon them that you've got to have a budget line item for cybersecurity at this point. It's a matter of what it is. Just like your telecommunications budget, whether that be through your cell phones or for the internet access connection coming to your business, this is very real. We have to take this seriously. So we need to look in terms of budget. As I said before, dealing with it after it's happened is too late. And the 3 or 4 products that I just discussed with you are relatively inexpensive. They vary based on the specific needs. So I don't want to give us a specific number as far as what those costs would be. I do want to think in terms of layers. I think in terms of these products, small, medium, or large, these products, at least these products should be in place because these are the kinds of attacks that are occurring today. And this is what we need to be prepared for. I would say that if you think in terms of, can I afford it? The question is, can you afford not to have it? That's what it really boils down to, because the figures, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree. I mean, that's a great answer because I think you share already the numbers and of how many attacks do businesses and in general people get on daily basis. So it was very scaring, right? And why don't you just share a couple of examples of what it could occur for me, a small business, right? Maybe I have a restaurant. I know that you mentioned you don't have to think only on how that will affect your business, but also how will that affect your customers, right? They may have access to all the data that you have from your 1,000 customers. So can you give an example? Is that an email that I'm going to get? Is that a text? Can I get a text via text, by phone, via email? Is just the internet that I need to protect? You know, some very basic examples of scenarios that people can connect with if they are a small business and they really want to understand how important, how easily they could get attacked without even noticing it.
Yeah, and I think it's really a little bit of all of the above right there. I mean, we are seeing that with the advent of 5G services and 4G as we're migrating from 4 onto 5G. Let's start right there with cellular. There's some small businesses that are running their business that are just from a cell phone. Maybe they've got a food cart or a food truck or something like that. They're running their credit cards via cellular and through a system. Listen, that is something that is attackable as well, as is Wi-Fi services. We need to think in terms of all the different areas that these guys can come up with that they can get in and they can work on your network. One of the things that really blew me away was I had read an article not that long ago about how automobiles were starting to be hacked, and they were doing it via the air sensors for tires, which was amazing to me because there again, they were using the RF to get connectivity into the car, but the car itself did not have security protocols to prevent that from happening. So as we get smarter and smarter with our automobiles, we're now starting to have to look at security. So anything that has been turned into a smart device, and that means possibly a refrigerator, a washer and dryer, these things can be access points for someone to get in. So we need to think in terms of cellular. We need to think in terms of Wi-Fi and protecting our customers that maybe you're eating within our organization, having dinner at the restaurant, they're using the Wi-Fi. Is that Wi-Fi secure? Could that customer's information be taken from that Wi-Fi and that customer come back to you realizing that that occurred while they were patronizing your business and then sue you? Well, the answer is yes. So we need to think in terms of all of these different areas. And that's why I say, look at this from different layers. And it's a good thing to bring in a security consultant to help you get some understanding of what your specific needs are. Because if there's one thing that is for sure, there's no one size fits all when it comes to security. Small, medium, and large businesses, we have different product sets for each. And as you grow your business and as you go into different areas with your business, if you're adding that Wi-Fi, if you've got a cellular component, you've got an access component, you're running customer resource management software within your organization that potentially can be breached, and that information sold online, which includes credit card numbers, it includes employee social security numbers. We need to think in terms of protecting this. I'm not sure if I answered your question there, Laura.
No, yes, absolutely. And I think the first step, I think the takeaway here is talk to a cybersecurity consultant, correct? That's kind of the first step. And Kent is going to be sharing his wonderful presentation and adding resources as well. So you can go and get more information about it and contact Kent, of course, with any questions. He's going to be happy to give you some guidance depending on your needs, right? Because it's all about assessing your needs based on the size of your business. And that's fantastic. So thank you so much, Ken, for that fantastic presentation. We're almost at the end of our webinar, but of course, I want to introduce Celeste Carrasco, who is with us, and Celeste will be providing some closing remarks.
Could I just say one last thing, Laura? I just want to
Yes.
say, I want to say to everybody, thank you for letting me use my passion right now, which is to help you protect yours. With that, I wish everybody a wonderful weekend coming up and a happy Halloween and Dia de los Muertos. And thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. We will get the information out to you.
Gracias, Ken. And well, Celeste Carrasco is the AT&T Director of Public Affairs. Welcome, Celeste. Thank you so much for being with us since the beginning.
It's my pleasure, Laura. It's been an amazing presentation. I hope everybody was taking notes, and I have been privy to this presentation before during our conversations, and trust me, I have plenty of notes as to I don't have a small business. However, I do have smart devices at home, and all of those are vulnerable spots for all of us if we are not aware of how we are connecting those devices into our own networks. So Kent has been an amazing resource to educate us all in this very important conversation. I mean, cybersecurity sometimes sounds like one big scary word, and maybe it should be a big scary word. But the reality is we can tame this beast, with education and preparation. And, we are just so pleased to be part of this conversation with Latino small businesses. We are the backbone of this country, and we need to make sure that we protect it. So thank you, USHCC. Thank you, Ramiro. Laura, Veronica, the whole team that has made this this opportunity a reality. Without this partnership, we wouldn't be able to deliver this message to these small business owners. So with that, I want to take a moment to thank my leadership, Rachel, for taking the time out of your busy day to be here with us today. Thank you for your leadership, being part of the USHCC board. You're an amazing leader. I'm so happy that you're part of the family now. And within your team, Yvette has been an amazing partner. She is just a firecracker. Love having her around. She's just amazing. This is really an A team coming together. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today here on the Zoom webinar, as well as the Facebook Live. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.